Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Majita Nabongwana, welcome to it. Today we are having a panel discussion on school safety campaign by the Department of Education in the Free State, and we are discussing the topic building a better and safer environment in schools. And I've got my panelists with me, but remember we are going to be live on the Department of Education's Facebook as well as YouTube channels, and we are also live on Free State Online channel on Facebook. And we are also live on community radio stations. That is 7 community radio stations in the Free State. That is Musupatela FM, Moteo FM, Metsimaholo FM, CUT FM, Kwakwa FM, Sitsoto FM as well as Disabeng FM. And with me right now, I have the panelists that are with me to have all this discussions. So without wasting time, let me introduce Ntate Michael Mati, who is a school safety specialist from the Department of Education. Ntate Mati, good afternoon and welcome.
Afternoon and thank you, sir.
Dr. Mati, let me just kick it off with you before I introduce the other panelists. What actually do you do as a school safety specialist in the Department of Education?
Thank you, sir. What we do as school safety, we ensure that the learning environment is conducive for teaching and learning. By so saying, it means now the learners, the teachers, and the visitors should feel secured and safe when they enter the school premises. That is the main purpose of school safety. And in addition to that, we ensure that the learners, they also maximize their potential in the learning environment without any disturbance. Yes.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Mate. And also we have a school social worker, that is Mepegi Sekwi. Mepegi, good afternoon and also welcome.
Good afternoon, Tate, and thank you for having me. I'm a school-based social worker at Rosenhoff School, that is based here in Kinshasa Park. What we do there, our school is a school that deals with learners with behavioral and learning challenges.
Okay.
Yes.
Behavioral and learning challenges.
Yes.
And we also have Tato Tukula, who's a member of the RCL. Tatos, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you, sir.
Look, we think we understand what RCLs do.
Yes.
But you know, there are people who don't actually get it. They just know, RCL. What do you actually do as an RCL member?
Okay, to cut the long story short, as an RCL member, our responsibilities are to mitigate or to prevent all sorts of threats, like, let's say, carrying of weapons at schools, substance abuse, and to top it all is to just report all the misconduct, we detect them within the school premises. That's how it is.
Nicely explained there. Captain, I'm jumping now to you, Captain Ramo Tsuela from the South African Police Services. Captain, also welcome to this discussion.
Thank you, Tate.
If you can get your mic closer.
Oh, thank you, Tate, for having me.
Yeah.
I'm working at the provincial SAPS. I'm responsible for the coordination of safety at schools. I'm working together with Ndatu Mati. We're doing awarenesses at schools, at identified schools. I don't want to call them hotspot schools because they don't want that name.
Yeah.
So we call them identified schools. So we do awarenesses together with education, provincial education.
As you speak, Captain, don't be afraid to put the mic closer, you know, to the mic so that people can hear you back at home. But let me start with Ndate Mati here. You spoke about the partnership that you as the SAPS as well as the Department of Education have, you know, working together. But Ndate Mati, what's the whole purpose of this school safety campaign?
All right, thank you, Tate. I'm sure we are all aware of episodes of violence that have been happening around our schools here in the province. So the main purpose of this campaign is to make people aware, including learners, everybody. Why am I saying everybody? Remember, safety is everyone's responsibility. Having safe schools is not the responsibility of the Department of Education alone. So we are trying to rope in other stakeholders, such as community members. Remember, the community has to take ownership of the schools. The Department of Education cannot be everywhere. But if we have a good working relationship with our community members, we would be able to deal with social ills that are so prevalent in our schools. So the main purpose of this awareness campaign, it is also to rope in people. They should know that they also have a place within the school safety setup itself. That is why we also encourage the parents to also be actively involved in schools, because there are structures such as the SGBs where the parents also have to play an important role. Without such structures, we won't be able to come up with policies and learner safe of conducts that will assist us to mitigate violence in our schools. So we are saying, we are making a call, we are crying for help, for everybody to come on board so that we can work together as a team. Alone, the Department of Education won't be able to deal with violence. Remember, these learners, in most cases, incidents that have been reported, you would notice that most of them are incidences that happened outside the school premises.
True.
But for the mere fact that the people who are involved there are learners, directly or indirectly, it affects us as Department of Education, whether we like it or not. Yes.
So you spoke about the involvement of parents. Prior to this campaign, how involved were parents? And because if a parent, one of their kids is a victim, definitely they will be involved. But outside of having their kids as victims in any sort of abuse or violence, how involved are parents in this kind of campaigns and in making sure that their own kids are safe in schools?
There are different structures within the Department of Education, your QLTC,
Yes.
whereby the parents and community members also have an important role to play. And again, those structures, there is a section within the Department of Education that is responsible for SGB. So the elections are held, people serve in those communities. But now we cannot just appoint people to serve in the structures that are set within the Department of Education, and we as parents, we fail to support them. So what is important for us is for them to also come on board and assist us, to deal with this scourge of violence in our schools. But maybe to answer your question, there are those parents who are actively involved in our schools. They are also part of our anti-crime awareness campaigns, whereby they also address the learners. And I am sure our MEC of Education is passionate when it comes to school safety issues. And now and then he encourages and meets with parents so that they can also play an important role in making sure that our schools are safe and secure.
And basically, I just want to jump to you there with all this that we talking about, Ntate Mati. You mentioned that in your duties, the key word that I've taken from some of your duties is dealing with kids that have got issues with behavior. And some of this behaviors, comes from, these young learners abusing substances, drug abuse, and all sorts of things. How often do you encounter cases of drug abuse, substance abuse by minors, and how do you usually deal with those?
I would say that it's a daily issue, but in our case, like in our school, because now they are staying there, they are not able to access drugs. But as now is the school holidays, we know that they are busy with that. And when they come back from the holidays, that's when we will see all the signs and symptoms of substance and abuse there will be those withdrawals and all sorts of signs to show that they've been using. So I believe that in the township schools it's a daily thing. But because in our school we don't admit learners who are having a problem with substance abuse, they need to go first to the rehab before we can admit them. So the township schools or other schools, it's a daily problem. Now, if maybe a child is identified having a problem with substance abuse, then the social workers, or if the school maybe report the child to the social workers, then they will do the assessment to check if maybe the problem, the seriousness of the problem. Then if the child is really addicted, then that's when the child will be referred to the rehab, and then other intervention will take place after that. So it's a daily thing.
But you know, what I'm trying to understand is, do substances contribute in how these learners handle themselves, you know, in schools or even outside, you know, the schools? Do they contribute in any way?
Yes, it does. It does contribute, because now the person who's under the influence of substance behave in a weird way, if I may put it that way. So you will find that we are dealing with that learner who's been using a substance all along, and now she can't get access to drugs. So now it becomes difficult for her, because now at that stage, that's what they call the withdrawal, because now the body is used to using drugs, so she can't get hold of the drugs, and now she will behave in such a way that we have to help her to get over the addiction.
Tatos,
Yes,
as an RCL member, right? Do you ever get, you know, other kids coming through to you, telling you about their issues that they have, maybe any form of abuse that they've encountered in the school, maybe by a teacher, maybe by a parent back at home, because you are more like their representative in the school premises? Do you ever get a point where they come and they talk to you? If so, what do you usually do?
Well, to be precise, they do come to me, but it's not always that we get a case here. Excuse me. They have to report maybe the incidents it's in high. Most of the time they talk about them being bullied at school, and then you'd find maybe it's about into a teacher really said something to them. So I literally just have to take the complaint, and then I have to pass it to the SGB, because SGB it consists of learners. It has our teachers along with they spend most of the time with us, and then it also has parents also. Meaning, if ever the case is actually major than that, it has to be dealt with first kahara school, and then if ever it becomes this case and it's way out of line, it has to become maybe until it gets to be fed to the social worker, because school anything the social workers. If a learner, let's say maybe after that you could see now such in Chile, there's low self-esteem, some changes here. We refer them to the social workers, because psychologically they're not okay. So they get that help. Maybe just now you'll be able to talk, you'll be able to voice out, because I'm not the person, I'm not trained, remember, to say that you can talk to me, you can go on bear hand. So that's what we literally do. If ever something you cannot handle it, you report it Bailey officing, and then it has to be dealt with Kahara SGB, and then everything becomes fine.
Basically, Tato touched on low self-esteem from kids that you might find they're bullied, or things are happening to them. What can you, as an advice maybe to teachers and parents, what is it that they can look at to see that the child is either being bullied or abused, and either at school or at home? What are the signs that are there that you can see that this kid is probably bullied or abused?
Firstly, it will be the behavior ya ngwana ne. O tla bona gore ngwana ha sa le ka tsela e ke ne ke mo tseba ka yona. O mongwe o tla ba isolate baneng ba bang because of mehlomong yona bullying. O mongwe e tla be le yona ntho ya substance abuse, wa isolate bana ba bang. Gore behavior ya motho ya change. E ka ba ka lona lebaka la bullying kapa substance abuse. So ba tlameha ba hlokomela hore na behavior ya ngwana o e nentse se tjena. Ko as a teacher o tlameha o be observant di-learnerseng tsa hao o kgone ho bona ngwana ha sa le ka mokgo nna ke ne ke mo tseba ka teng ne. So ke tse ding tsa dintho tse tshwantseng ba di shebe tseo. O mong o tla ba hyperactive because of tshebediso eo ya dithethefatsi. So ke tse ding tsa dintho tse tshwantseng ba di shebe tseo. The minute o bona behavior ya ngwana e change ka tsela e leng hore ha ya tlwaeleha ka mokgo wena o ntse mo tseba ka teng, then o tshwanetse ko be dihlomo bona le di-SBST dikolong. Then if mohlomong ba bona hore e ka re ngwana o ho na le change in the behavior, then they can refer the child and then matitjhere a le mo SBST ba ke ba kgona ho etsa. Then if we talk like involvement or intervention as social worker, the social, each and every school in a social worker, then they can phone the school social worker for who intervene.
Okay, ke kopa o tlaleletsa se mmea Simanga se buane. What is also important when you observe these learners a learner who is bullied or is a victim, sometimes you'd see about his or her performance in class. Ha ile lo go ke ngwana o ntsa performance entle o tla bona a starta a drop ne. Secondly, you'd also find that the same learner all of a sudden he drops out of school, not knowing for what are the reasons for this learner not to attend school. And a go go ngwana o ke ngwana o buliwa. Or the very same learner, sometimes he becomes violent. He is bullied, then in turn he becomes a bully himself. And one other thing that I would like to advise, the teachers, how to work a bullying. Let us not focus on the victims alone. There are three people involved when coming to bullying. It would be the perpetrator. He needs help or she needs help. It would be the victim and the bystanders. There are those learners who we call bystanders. And those people are key because now, if you are bystanders and you chair this one who's bullying the victim, you can encourage or continue that behavior. So whenever you render services to the victim, let us not forget the perpetrator and the bystanders, because they are key when it comes to bullying. And learners must also be aware for actually bullying. It's crime. It's crime because captain, when she steps in, address her issue of bullying. Hana Kotlamo Abarginali KC is about bullying. She's going to be assault to criminal injury, all those things. So our learners, they must be aware for by bullying other learners, you are actually committing crime. So it's very important.
Before I jump to the captain there, Messi, what happens when, let's say a learner confides go Tato, and then after confiding Tato, utlisa the case more and this learner, for some reason, how badly this issue to be reported? Do they have the right to say, I don't want this to be reported? And in such a case, what then happens? Because some may be threatened maybe to say, if you tell anybody, this 1, 2, 3, and 4 will happen. So what then happens in situations like that?
Yeah, it's true that the learner might say that she doesn't want the matter to be reported, but because we have to do what is best for the child, and the Children's Act says that if it is in the best interest of the child, then the matter needs to be reported. Then that's what you are going to explain to the learner, that as much as you don't want this to be reported, but the person who did the person maybe who bullied you also need to be assisted, like that Machi is saying. Because some of the bullies, they are not even aware that what they are doing is wrong. So they both need help. So regardless of the Totato doesn't want the matter to be reported, then Tato Utamo referela, but I will explain to her or to him or this needs to be reported because it needs to stop. If we don't deal with it, it will continue.
Yeah. Captain, almost a similar question, but in this case, at times it happens that teachers or community members, neighbors, they come and they report an abuse of a minor, and many a times you find that family members sometimes they don't want to be embarrassed maybe to say our child has been bullied or abused in any form of way. What then happens in a situation like that? How do you, as the SAPS, intervene in such in helping the victims? Yeah, the child.
As Mayor has already said,
Yeah.
In terms of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, everyone, not only the parent or the guardian, the neighbor can report for the child. So we are obliged to report any crime that is committed to a child, because in terms of the Constitution, we must the child needs to be in care and protection. So we have to open a docket, whether it's the parent who reported or not, and where the crime has been committed, the parent is going to be charged also, because he or she didn't report the crime.
So can the child also be protected? Because we need to emphasize that if such a thing can happen, so that kids should not be scared to actually come out and tell when something wrong is happening, because we're talking family, we're talking people that are close to this child. Can that child be protected against the family itself?
Yes, the child can be protected, and if the parent is a perpetrator, we refer the child to the social worker or to me, so that he or she can get the place of safety or shelter. Yes.
Fatemati, you wanted to add that?
Wait again. It is just get there like maybe. But they always say ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Mila we South Africa, and the facilities are there in the Free State. So there is no way that Mwana Akasafara in the hands it's a family member, and we fail to report such an incident, because now, like me and I refer to the Children's Act. I think it's section 110 of the Children's Act, whereby it says something about mandatory reporting. Because now, if you know that this learner or this child minor has been abused, and you fail to report until a neighbor, you will be held accountable. It's not only about family members to report. Even the next door neighbor, he's got the right. There is also a prescribed form that you can complete, emanating from the Children's Act. It's Form 22, whereby you can report child abuse or child neglect. So everything is there. It's up to us to know and learn about these things, so that we protect our children.
My other question to you, Captain, is this: at times kids don't feel comfortable to talk to anyone at school, right? Or to even talk to anyone at home. Can they directly come to the police station maybe and say, look, let me rather go to the people that I know I can find protection from, and open a case in a situation of an abuse?
Yes, surely they can.
Yeah.
At SAPS, we have this unit called FCS, Family Violence, Child Protection, and FCS, and Sexual Offences.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. No, thank you so much, Captain. I got that. Date Mati, just before we get the final remarks from each of you, what are the available, school programs to combat abuse and violence in schools that you guys have?
Okay. Maybe it would be proper for me gore ke starte ka e ne e launchiwa ke wa our MEC Ntate Tate Makwe. Anti-racism and anti-bullying campaign, whereby it was initiated by the Office of MEC in each and every district in a launching of that program. So even next year, it was not a once-off thing. You'll see it now and then in the districts, and we will also identify the schools, let me say priority schools, where we feel gore re tshwanetse re customize and re target dikolo tse go ya ka di challenges tse di experience. But now again, the programs, there are so many programs. But now remember, there is this protocol that has been signed by DBE and SAPS at national, whereby the two departments have to work together when coming to the programs that are school safety. One of the programs say jointly SAPS, the search and seizures, as it has been indicated, or sometimes by now, the dangerous weapons, others will be in possession of drugs and all those things. So what we normally do, we target certain schools, and the police will go there unannounced to confiscate those things from the learners. It's one of the standing programs that we have with SAPS. Another one, it is this one on linking of schools to local police stations. A linking of schools to local police station, each and every school will be issued with a linking certificate. Am I correct? Now I always tell the people, this linking form is actually not a form. It serves the same purpose as a marriage certificate. For 12 years and they did jointly. So renally awareness campaigns is the SAPS. They know maybe next week we'll be sitting together, the two departments. More than plan ya next year, all the programs say no roll out to Kodikolo. So, but let me not exhaust everything. Maybe Captain would add there because we are doing these things jointly.
Yeah.
Maybe I should afford an opportunity to add on the programs that we drive together.
Yeah.
Before I can talk about the programs, you forgot to tell the people that with this linking, we assign the school safety coordinators. That means each and every police station or each and every school is provided with a school safety coordinator, a member from SAPS, the one who will deal with the crime that is happening at school, the one who is going to do the awarenesses together with the school. And then we are doing this anti-drug abuse. We are doing the GBV also is included now. GBV awareness. And then is which one again? That
every year, the beginning of every year, SAPS at national, they will give us a certain number of schools where we have to target our programs. So that program is coordinated by the National Office of SAPS. Then we've got a priority schools. But priority schools, the programs roll out in those schools. What we normally do, we sit together, we look at the learner misconduct that have been reported on SASMs, and we identify the problems, safety problems, the experience. Then how we develop a program together with SAPS. It's a customized program because I cannot go to school A, program bullying. But the problems they are experienced there, the dangerous weapons. So we sit together and decide on the programs that have to be rolled out. But other programs are preventative programs. It shouldn't just always be intervention. There are also programs that we also roll out that are preventative. Yes.
No, thank you so much for all of this. Just your last remarks, Ndatemati, before Rekwala, what would you say, what would be your last word?
What I would like to say, I'm calling upon all the stakeholders, parents, children, learners. Let us join hands. Crime is a if we can form a strong team, we will be able to can overcome it. We've got the support. Free State has got resources. We've got schools. Make it work from Rosenhof, whereby learners who are experiencing behavioral challenges can be referred to. And one other thing that I would also call upon is for the schools to report these cases on SSMs so that we can have the picture of what is happening in our schools. So when you look at Montomo SSM saying, you'd find that there are cases that are underreported. So it makes our job difficult as stakeholders to know the problems that schools are experiencing. Yes.
Messi Ekwe?
Okay, Lena, just to add on that, now I will encourage or urge the community to report cases of substance abuse, because now if we put a blind eye on the situation in Serebonao, kids are abusing drugs. It is not only that family's problem, but it's a community problem, because now if it's not addressed, then it's going to be a problem. So people need to report, like Ndatemati is saying, especially the issues that involve Bana, because now Mola Umo to protect Bana. So social workers are there. I know sometimes they get frustrated or report, but nothing has been done. It's because it takes time to do the investigation, to find placement and all that. But I will encourage the community to report.
Tatros?
Okay, the South African School Safety Act, I think it's under Section 621. It states that schools should be cleared from all violence and threats, all sorts of that, for both learners and teachers. Where am I going with this? I believe for things to become much better, the cases of bullying, substance abuse, carrying of weapons, and I believe each and every learner in school, and they should be given the school's code of conduct, because school is a code of conduct that day. And then each class in that way, it pays the into the misconduct that day. Knowing that if I behave in a certain manner, I know how punishment I get. That means this will flirt in the caveat most of the time we found vandalism, the weapons is that flirts the curve. And in that way, I believe our district should also implement a safety structure, not only the district but also the province and nationwide, if that's possible. And I believe that way things will become easy, and it also provide, I think, a healthy culture, a culture in a sense bana ba behave jwang sekolong, it becomes a healthier environment for bana dikolong. That will be a better plan. That's what I'm actually pleading for. Yeah.
No, let's hope definitely it will happen, with time. All these things, they need time. Well said there. Captain, your last remarks?
Ntate jwale ka nna ke le leponesa ke ne ke case le ha e ka ba nyenyana jwale ka bullying bullying nyenyana ne you must report it because how say report perpetrator it will dula yes ho fihlella yentse ntho kgolo maybe you go qetella o rape ka pa o qetella o assaultile because o la thola o le ngwana sekolo you must report if you sa khone o reportela your friend your teacher mapolesa teng ke nnete ho thwe mapolesa a tsheya ha se mapolesa a tsheya ka nako motho o tshaba fela o tla SAPS a to report re a tseba re na le bana hore case e nngwe le nngwe e important hore re rekote fatshe
Kenale Wheeling, building a better and safer environment in schools. That was the topic of this panel discussion. A very big thank you to our panelists, Date Mate, Me Siekwi, Ostato, as well as Captain Ramotswela there. I was your host, Mpinane Letuane is my name, or if you want to, you can call me Bigzo P, the greatest. As always, when I wrap it up, to whom much is given, much is expected. To whom much is expected, much is required. Every champion that is a champion today was once a contender who refused to give up. We don't give up in life. We keep on keeping on. Thank you so much. Have yourselves a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful evening, as well as a wonderful night.